I had to take Dr. Sims, who was known for like weeding people out. So in algebra, we had our first test. And I'm like studying hard. I was like, I can't fall behind in this. And I ended up making the highest grade, which was a 99. And
Wow.
what she would do is she would pass out the highest grades first. And
So
mine was the
everybody knew.
highest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, peep what she said. Placed it on my desk. And she said, ladies, this is who you should be studying with. So after class, like all the girls, like, let's exchange numbers. We can study. So I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is like completely different from the environment I was in high school to where it was kind of popular to be not smart, but
Right.
I was able to get attention for the opposite. So that gave me positive reinforcement to go down
Wow.
that path.
Welcome to HBCU4U Podcast. My name is Galen Turner, and today's guest is my main man, Deesa. Now, this is somebody I've known for over 20 years, and his story is one of real growth, real transformation, and real purpose. Deesa is a proud Southern University graduate with an MBA from Amberton University, but his journey didn't start how you might think. He went from a 1.0 GPA in high school to graduating in college with a 4.0. And that alone tells you everything you need to know about his resilience. Even though both of his parents attended Southern, his path wasn't immediate. It took life experience, the influence of his friends, and even the culture. Shows like The Cosby Show and The Different World to help shape his decision to choose the HBCU route. Since then, he's built a career in the defense industry and now thrives in real estate. But more than anything, he brings a perspective that speaks to how the HBCU experience has changed over time and why it still matters. This one right here is about growth, perspective, and purpose. Let's get into it. Welcome, Deesa. How you doing, brother?
Hey, what's up? Hey, long
Hey,
time, long time. Good to
it's
see you.
been a while, man. You do you want to share? You just sharing with me off camera how when we met each other. Do you want to share for the for our audience when and how we met each other?
I remember it was December '07 because that's when I moved back from Cali. And I was just got a place in Plano, and you came and helped me hook up my cable. And I was looking forward to it because back then Plano was one of the first places that had fiber optics. So I was looking forward to that fast internet. I think fast internet back then maybe was like 100 megabytes or something. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
now you can get up to like five gigs. But yeah, man, I kind of just talked to you while you were doing everything. I saw that you definitely had higher aspirations for yourself, and we just vibed on that and kept in touch. And wow, it's 18, yeah, 18 years, almost 20 years.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. So I was a cable guy, ladies and gentlemen. Man, just part of my life journey. All right, let's jump into the questions, brother. For
Mhm.
those who don't know you, can you introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing today?
So right now, living in downtown Dallas, you can see with the skyline behind me. I went to school for computer science, but right now, uh, I more so work in real estate management, um, and that's basically it right now. So I've been
Cool,
doing that more so the last, I would say, last four years.
cool. As I mentioned in your intro, you didn't go straight to college, even though both your parents attended Southern. Walk us through that decision and your mindset at the time.
It's actually a pretty cool story. So, and one correction, you said that I went from a 1.0 to a 4.0. came across one of my report cards from sophomore year, and it was the cumulative report card for that year. And it was a 1.0, which is like a F or D minus average for the year.
Wow.
My very first semester of college, I had a 4.0. So both my parents went to Southern. My mom actually, I think she was like a freshman and she became pregnant with me and she ended up dropping out. But I didn't plan on going to Southern or college right out of high school. I had a few issues in high school, made bad grades. I graduated, and the summer I went to trade school. I was actually going to trade school to learn how to cut hair, and I was looking for that department. It's called Votech in Shreveport. I don't know if it's still in existence, but
Yes.
you heard of it?
Vocational technical. That's the full
Yeah,
term. Yes, yes.
yeah. So I'm looking for the barber school, and this older white guy sees that I'm looking around. It's like I tell him what I'm trying to find. He said, we talked a little bit. He said, well, I'll show you where it is, but I'm the computer repair. I forgot the fancy term they gave it, but he taught the class on computer repair. He was like, come check out my class, and then I'll show you where the barber school is. So I went with him. He showed me his class, and what I thought they were doing was pretty cool. Even though I didn't know anything about computers, I kind of felt that that was probably the future. And I
Right.
actually never went to the barber school. I just he convinced me to enroll in his class. So that's what I did. And of course, this is pre 9/11 and all that. So during lunch, I would hop over to Southern. Southern has a 2-year college in Shreveport, Suzbo. It's changed names a few times over the years, but back then it was called Suzbo. So I would go there for lunch because it was girls there, cool place to hang out, and I see a church member there, Dr. Brazil, and she was some type of dean there. I know she was over the library. And she says, Deesa, or back then they called me, she called me Maurice. That's my middle name. And she said, I didn't know you went to school here. I was like, oh, I just came here to get lunch. She's like, what you doing? I said, well, I'm at Votech. And by this point, I think school's already in like 2, 3 weeks. Late registration is probably over. I say that because this woman convinced me to stop going to Votech and enroll in college.
Wow.
So I didn't really think about enrolling in college because I felt that I probably couldn't afford it.
Right.
But what I didn't know, if your parents make under a certain amount, you can get Pell Grants and all that. So she took me by the hand. She helped me fill out the paperwork. Back then, I think just to get in class, you had to pay like $100. And then you could wait on your Pell Grant money.
Right.
And she put up that $100 back then. $100 was a lot. So I was shocked that she did that. And kind of like how the Votech teacher intersected me before I got to the barber school, she intersected me. And from that day, I never went back to the trade school. And I had been going there since she graduated in spring, started in May. This was probably September sometime. So took a placement test, and the next day I was I was in I was in college at Southern. And before that, I had no idea what I would major in. So she took me to talk to the college advisor, and she was like, "What you want to major in?" I was like, "I don't know. I didn't know I was going to be in college 2, 3 hours ago."
Wow.
And I asked, "What can I major in to make the most money or whatever?" So she gets this book about, it shows the highest paying majors. projected within the next, I think, 5 years, I would be graduating in 4 years. And number one was petroleum engineer. I was like, well, do you have that major? It's like, no, we don't have that. Second was a computer analyst. I was like, well, do you have that major? It's like, well, people that become computer analysts usually major in computer science, which we have.
Wow.
That was the quick conversation that led to me majoring in computer science. And the next day I was in school for that. I was just so moved by the fact that this woman that didn't really know me that well
Right.
took a chance and put $100 up. My financial aid came back, and I was shocked that I was able to get a check after it paid for my school. I was like,
Wow.
if I knew I could get paid to go to school, I would have been went. Uh, so yeah, I was able to pay for my school, gas money. I was able to get student work aid or whatever. So I was
Yeah.
working in the computer lab. So it worked out great. But that first semester, I made a 4.0, and
Wow.
I could not wait to go and show Dr. Brazil that, the chance she took on me and putting the $100 up, that, this is my appreciation. Thank you.
Wow.
She would always say, you could thank me by getting me some stuffed shrimp from Pete Harris. That's a popular seafood place in Dallas. So
Wow.
whenever I would go back to visit, I would pick her up some stuffed shrimp from Pete Harris.
Wow. That's amazing.
Hmm.
Not only did you have some life shifts or paradigm shifts, however you want to say it, they present it to you in different ways. And not only did they present themselves to you, but you actually listened, and you acknowledged, you recognized that shift, and you acted on it quickly. What would you say that is? Because that's not normal for somebody to be actually presented with the opportunity. And, it sounds like very quickly you made a decision to not only jump to that, but, go full force as well. What do you think that is?
It came down to survival. It came down to fear. It came down to not wanting to have to live my life in the same circumstances that I grew up in. When I saw that people graduating with a degree in computer science were starting off making, I want to say, 36,000
Right,
when I first started college.
right,
And actually, by the time I graduated in those 4 years, most people graduating in the computer science were making over 50,000. So I would have been happy with 34, 35. So
right, right, right,
computers weren't my passion. I knew nothing about computers before I majored in it. I just saw it as a way to make a good living. I would kind of equate it to this. You've seen the movie Coming to America?
yes,
Right. So there's a scene when Akeem is apprehensive about the arranged marriage, and he goes to his mom, and him and his mom have a conversation about the arranged marriage. And his mom said, I had an arranged marriage, but over the years, I've grown to love him very much. And that's kind of the relationship with me in computer science. I knew nothing about computers, but once I got into it, I enjoyed the problem solving aspect of it.
right,
Uh, Playing with Legos, like from childhood forever. I would sit in front of a little red suitcase full of Legos, and I would just make all these elaborate things. And my mom used to always say, you're going to be an architect when you grow up. And I always thought about that, but then as I got older, it's like I don't think I'm going to be doing plans for buildings.
right,
But back then, what I ended up uh, doing as an adult field
that
wasn't really known back then. And actually, when I got my first job coming out of college, my business card said software architect.
I'm sure
So
your
this is
mother
like
was
what is
proud.
yeah, it said something software architect, some it had architect in the title.
Right.
So this is before I could just like take a picture with my camera phone and text it to her. So I wrote her a letter and said, "Hey, you're right. I became an architect," and I put a business card in there.
I'm sure that was a proud
Um,
moment for her.
yeah, I think I went off on a tangent. Did I finish my answering
Yeah,
your
yeah. No, no,
question?
no. Yes, yes, you
Yeah,
definitely did. Yeah, thank you. Thank you
yeah.
so
So
much.
yeah. It really came down to just wanting to be able to sustain myself, and I saw computer science being the best option.
Cool, cool. Now, you mentioned that your first semester you obtained, or your first semester at Southern, uh, and I'm assuming you're talking about the 2 year college, correct? In Shreveport.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
What changed for you? Because you said you struggled in high school, and then you were motivated. There was some level of motivation for you since Dr. Brazier believed, she, invested in you, and she
Mhm.
believed in you, and it's like you were driven to prove her right. So what changed for you from high school to college? Now college.
Okay. I think in high school or in certain environments, uh, negative things get attention. So I think those high schools I went to early on, being a knucklehead was like uh, looked upon favorably.
Gotcha.
Uh, my first 2 years of high school, I did horrible. Uh, but uh, sophomore and junior year, I had a scholarship to a private high school.
Oh wow.
And I remember Westbury Christian, which is like a top, back then they were like a top 25 high school. So it was a big deal for me before they banned high school players to go to the NBA, straight to the NBA. They actually had a lottery pick, a top 13 pick come straight from that high school. And everybody that graduated from the high school was getting scholarships. So when I went there, those same antics that were looked at as cool at like my hood high school was frowned upon at this school. So that started to kind of change my mind. And like for junior and senior year, I think I pretty much stayed on the honor roll.
Gotcha.
Um, so I remember in algebra class, algebra one. Uh, since I started so late, you know how like you go to college and you want to be early because you want to sign up for the easy teachers
Right, right.
before they get booked out. So I didn't have that choice because, like I said, I started late. Like it was like I don't know how Dr. Brazil got me in class, but like I said, I think late registration was over with.
Okay.
But when I didn't really have a choice of teachers, so I had to take Dr. Sims, who was known for like weeding people out. So in algebra, we had our first test. And I'm like studying hard. And I was like, I can't fall behind in this. And I ended up making the highest grade, which was a 99. And
Wow.
what she would do is she would pass out the highest grades first. And
So
mine was the
everybody knew.
highest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, peep what she said. Placed it on my desk. And she said, ladies, this is who you should be studying with. So after class, like all the girls, like, let's exchange numbers. We can study. So I
Yeah.
was like, wow, this is like completely different from the environment I was in high school to where uh, it was kind of popular to be uh, not smart, but
Right.
I was able to get attention for the opposite. So that gave me positive reinforcement to go down
Wow.
that path.
Wow. So you were able to score very high, at least leads me into my next question. What habits or discipline did you develop that helped you make that kind of shift in your grades? Starting from the beginning of your high school. I know you mentioned an environment shift during high school, and then in college. What habits or discipline did you develop?
Well, I think I just made so many mistakes early on. I remember I went to like four different high schools. So I
Wow.
remember being at my mom's house, getting put out my mom's house, going to my dad's house, got put out of there, went to my grandma's house, got put out of there, and then I came back to my mom's house. And plus the fact that one of the reasons why I wanted to go to a HBCU is because my friends went there and they would talk about the football games and all the fun they were having. And I'm still at home in vocational school.
Right.
So uh, by the time I was about to start school, they were flunking out and coming back home.
Wow.
So I made a lot of mistakes early. I saw friends uh, go out of state to have some friends at Alcorn, and they
Okay.
party too much. They end up coming back home. So seeing that and just having that extra maturity to see how things could go left uh, helped me to realize how important school was and to not make the same mistakes.
Gotcha. Wow. So you learn from your friends, basically, them flunking out and having to come back home from various HBCUs. You learn from them, and you were mature enough at that time to be disciplined enough to stick with it, and not only stick with it, but you excelled. Is that a
Mhm.
fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Now, you already mentioned one of the reasons why you chose HBCU was because
Mhm.
of your friends. In the intro I gave for you, it also alluded to you having been influenced by the Cosby Show and A Different World. How did those shows like that shape your decision as well?
I don't think Bill Cosby gets enough credit for how many people he probably sent to HBCUs. I
That's a
think
fact.
if you look at the stats, I'm pretty sure like kids that grew up on Cosby Show in A Different World, I think we had a spike of enrollments in HBCUs. That just really, in my mind, before I even went, it just had a positive connotation. You know, you would see, we would watch the Cosby Show at 7, and at 7:30, you wasn't going nowhere because you was going to be watching A Different World. Movies like, gosh, what's the Spike Lee movie that he
Oh
had
yeah,
where he
school
was
is it school days?
School Days, School
Yes.
Days. Yeah, so it was just always something that seemed cool. It wasn't something that was front of mind, being that,
Hmm.
you know, when I graduate, I'm gonna go um to a HBCU. Plus the proximity of Southern having a satellite campus in in Shreveport. Because if that school wasn't as close as it was to that vocational college where I just hop over there for lunch,
Hmm.
uh, I don't know where I would be because I just kind of like stumbled into college. Now, if I would have just went to school to learn how to cut hair or learn to fix computers,
Right.
I think just my entrepreneurial mindset, I think I probably would have my own barbershop or something like that. But I don't think maybe I would have become as maybe successful as I did going the route that I did with college.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Fantastic. Now, I believe you kind of alluded or answered my next question, but I'll just ask you to elaborate. If I heard you correctly, while you were at the Southern University in Shreveport, Southern University in Baton Rouge may have had a satellite location in Shreveport. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. And was that how they ultimately landed you, or did you actually consider other schools as well?
No, I didn't consider any other schools. It's just that Dr. Brazil took me by the hand and just made sure that I went there, and I went there the next day. And after the first semester, and also they had a program called Student Support Services,
Okay.
which helped first generation college students.
Hmm.
Now, I wasn't necessarily a first generation college student, but if I would have graduated, I would have been the first generation that graduated.
Gotcha.
So that gave me some extra support. Um, and going there for 2 years and having a high GPA allowed me to get a full scholarship to finish my degree in Baton Rouge.
Wow. Amazing.
Mhm.
And so, did you? I know you chose computer science while you were in Shreveport. Did you continue on with that in Baton Rouge as well? Southern University of
Yes,
Baton. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Fantastic. What did your HBCU experience give you that you don't think you would have gotten anywhere else?
I would say to not give up when things get tough. Like for his even registration, back then we was in line like all day. You might be in line 2 days straight.
Oh
Um,
my.
it also taught me some uh, things, and for us, like it's good to be smart, but it's also good to be social and befriend people in higher positions that can help you. Um, and this is a lesson that a teacher taught me in an indirect way. The only class that I can remember retaking was assembler language, which is a computer course, very difficult course where you have to program with the building blocks, the building blocks of the language as far as like the hexadecimals and all that. So
Yeah.
instead of like saying print hello world, you have to break that down to the hexadecimal code
Cold. Yeah.
that the computer language understands. And I remember back then I was doing websites for companies for a little extra money. This is when JavaScript first came out, and uh, I I knew how to program JavaScript, and which was it was almost revolutionary at the time to have stuff moving instead of just having moving on the screen instead of just having like the static code.
Right. Right.
And of course, the professors there, they didn't know Java, and I think I showed her a website that I did, and she asked me to do a presentation on JavaScript.
Wow.
Uh, and I declined because I was afraid to get in front of the class to talk about it. And her her test was so hard that everybody would fail. But if she liked you, then she would pass you. But that gave her the discretion to fail you if she wanted to. Plus, this was like when I was coming out, I had a lot of site visits. I was going like a lot of her class times because I was visiting this company, visiting that company,
Right.
and I would score better than most on her tests, but I was still like making bad. I was probably like making D's in there and on her test. Back then, like the teachers would have to print out these big things of paper on the mainframes and turn in their grades. And I saw it, and I saw her coming from the computer room,
Right.
and I knew what was in her hand. I knew where she was going. She was coming. up the stairs and I was going down. And I said, I spoke to her and she said, and you are, I knew she knew my name, you know.
Right. Right. Right.
But when she acted like she didn't know my name, I knew. I was like, she's going to give me a D. If you have a D in your major, you got to retake that. And sure
Yeah.
enough, she gave me the highest D she could. But I
Wow.
knew other people that they scored lower than me, but they passed because they had that relationship with her, or they would do little favors. Now, that's probably not right. You say it's not fair, but life
But it's
isn't fair.
reality.
Corporate
Yeah.
America is
Yep.
not fair.
Yep.
So like even when you get into corporate America, sometimes you got to play the game, you know. So lessons like that, and even though their technology may not have been at the same level as some of the bigger schools, uh, I think I was able to improvise and make do and make up in some other areas that uh, maybe I lacked as far as technology.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that, because that's a life lesson. I hope people were listening and take notes, and you applied that to the corporate world, because it's just like that as well. Favor ain't
Exactly.
fair, and we all don't have it,
Yeah.
and you have to learn how to manage around that, in spite of manage and navigate. Right. All right. So you graduated in 2000. How has the
Yes.
HBCU experience changed from then to now, especially with shifts in affirmative action to DEI?
Yeah. I think things have changed a lot. And being at Southern, I mean, our student placement, our student support services, or I forgot what they call it, but it's where you go and sign up for interviews when companies are coming to recruit. And like every interview I went on, I got an offer. I had offers from IBM, Motorola, Lockheed Martin, Lucent Technology. I had like ten offers. So I was thinking, well, if I get this many offers from Southern, why don't I sneak into LSU's job fair? Because they probably, it's a lot bigger. So I go over to LSU's job fair. I print a bunch of resumes. I got the big head because I think, I'm getting every offer. I go there, hand out all these resumes. I did not get one call or one email from the companies that I talked to because I think uh, my resume said Southern. They were recruiting for students at LSU.
Right.
Uh, but the thing about talking to recruiters at Southern, it's a Black school, so you know that those companies were there for Black engineers. I do think that affirmative action was a part of that. The company that I ultimately went to was Lockheed Martin. And at that time, they were trying to get the JSF contract, which at that time was the largest government contract ever, like 400 billion. I want to say that uh, it went way over budget. It went into like 1 or 2 trillion actually. But Lockheed had some issues with race. I want to say that around that time there was a plant in Alabama or Mississippi where this Black employee at the plant was some racial issues where he was called the N word or something. He came and shot it up, and there was a lot of high profile incidents that Lockheed was having as far as like race. So they made a conscious effort to hire more minorities, and I would think that that was probably the case with some of the other companies that gave me offers too. So back then we had affirmative action, right? Once that's taken away, it kind of comes back a little bit watered down as DEI. And most recently, even that's been taken away. So I think that that is probably the biggest change as far as like going to a HBCU is maybe they're not quite as well funded. Maybe there's not as many companies that are coming there to fill their quotas. And if anyone's watching this video, if you have any information on how graduates at HBCUs are going or are getting placed in jobs now, please comment. But back then it was, man, we was beating companies off us with a stick. It was just a really great time. But this is before the dot-com bubble bust that I got in right before that. But even when that was happening, the defense industry was ramping up and doing a lot of hiring.
With that being said, what factors led you to choosing that pathway in the defense industry? Because as you stated earlier, you had quite a few other offers. So I'm sure one of them was probably monetary, but were there any other factors, including that led you to go with Lockheed versus your other choices?
For me, it was location number one because Lockheed wasn't my. Well, actually, I didn't go straight to Lockheed. I actually went to Alcatel, which
Okay.
was a French telecom company that was just starting their foothold in the US. And back then, they were like the biggest or second biggest employer in Plano. Um, and I think a lot of things uh, that have an impact on me as an adult has some type of root in my childhood. And I remember being a kid. I grew up in a house with my grandparents, and it was me, my mom, my uncle, my grandfather, and my grandmother. And she would watch the TV show Dallas, and it just seemed like such a different magical place than like where I lived. And I used to say, wherever they are, I'm going to, that's where I'm going to live when I grow up. I'm going to have a Cadillac with steer horns on the front. So, and I remember the first, really the only vacation I remember taking as a kid is we drove from Alexandria, Louisiana. That's where I'm from. We drove to Six Flags in Dallas, and I remember never seeing buildings that tall. I never saw a highway with that many lanes,
Yes.
and I had just the best time in at Six Flags. So I always, and I think some places just have like an energy. Like whenever after that, whenever I would visit Dallas, it just always had good luck, always had a good time. So and Alcatel, man, they came spending money when they came to the U.S. They picked it was me and two other people from my school. They picked us up in the airport in a limo, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So and they didn't just sell the company, they sold the city. So I think flew in on a Thursday. We interviewed on Friday,
Yeah.
and then we had a social at like Dave and Buster's that night.
Right.
And then Saturday, we toured the city, and guess where they took us? One of the stops was South Fork Ranch, is where that's the house that they would uh would show on the TV show Dallas. So
Wow.
so that was it for me. I love the city, the company, getting picked up in a limo. But that company, once the dot-com bubble busted, they laid off everybody they just hired. So I worked for them for like 4 months and got laid off. So then I started calling everybody that gave me an offer
Right.
before, and the closest place was Lockheed Martin in Fort Worth. So they said, well, we've hired for that position, but we can let you interview for another one. So I interviewed all over again, got that job, and that's how I ended up at Lockheed Martin.
Wow. How long did you stay with them?
I stayed there for about 4 years. And after that, I created an LLC and I started to do like little consulting gigs all over. So I was in California, I was in Iowa, I was all over. I was over the span of like 15 years after that, I was a little bit everywhere. But I
So
always kept a residence in Dallas.
talk about that transition. So what led you to creating the LLC? Who or what put that bug in your ear to try out consultant? Talk about that pathway for you.
Well, I got my MBA while I was at Lockheed. They paid for it, and I was able to move up the chain a little bit. And I got to the level to where you can kind of start seeing some of the numbers. Like if you're behind on the project, you bring in a consultant. And we had a consultant that we brought in that we ended up being friends. And I knew how much he was making. Well, I didn't think what he did, I didn't think it was something that I couldn't do. And he kind of helped me get started. He was trying to get me a consulting gig at the place he was at before he came to Lockheed. In parallel, I started looking on my own. So I actually found something on my own before uh, the other consulting gig came up. So I did that for about 15 years, and I bought a couple properties and started getting more into that. And for the last 4 years, that's all I do is more so like property management.
Gotcha. So you transition from defense to consulting, I'm assuming in defense or maybe beyond that as well, to real estate, right?
Hmm.
What sparked that transition from consulting to real estate?
I just want to have more freedom with my time. You know, I was always on the road. And I think when COVID hit, I wasn't able to travel, or I didn't have to travel as much as I used to. And I could just do all my work from home. But I knew after COVID, I was going to have to get back to flying wherever. And I just like being still for a while, and I just wanted to keep that going. So that was the spur that kind of made me go more into real estate.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now that you're in property management, can you talk to us a little bit about how you transition from consulting to investing in property management, and what was that shift for you? Can you share some tips or some uh, industry? I don't want to say secrets, but what helps you continue to be successful as far as managing money properly and investing?
Well, number one, you want to make sure that your credit is as stellar as it can be, because each point, the lower your credit score is, the more points you will have if you're trying to invest in real estate. And when I started getting into real estate, it was a lot easier to invest because houses were less than half the price they are now. You could finance a property for 3%. Uh, and now they're a lot more expensive and the finance rates are a lot higher. So if I was trying to figure out something to do now, I don't know what I would do. I would maybe just have to get really good at AI and get some agents to be my staff or something, because real estate is just so expensive and it's so expensive to finance. So like sometimes like someone asks me like what should I do now? I almost have to give a shrug because I don't really know what to tell people to do now. Back then, it was a no-brainer. But if I would tell someone who's trying to get started in something to get like a second stream of income, I would say learn to sell. Because if you can sell, If you're a good salesman, I don't care what it is, you can make money. Even the people that's being laid off now, it's usually the people that is furthest away from revenue, like some type of support to the people who's bringing the money in. But the people that's bringing the money in, it's going to always be a spot for you.
That's a fact. I know that from experience.
Yeah.
I know that from experience. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. For the students who may be unsure about HBCUs, deciding to go to an HBCU, or struggling academically if they're already in school or possibly in high school, what message would you leave them with?
Okay. So the first part of that is if you're struggling academically in high school, you need to really understand the importance of making good grades for the next step. You know, it's one thing for someone to say, make good grades. It's another thing for someone to say, make good grades and articulate the rationale behind it. For instance, like you tell a kid, don't touch that because it's hot. But, a child doesn't know that. It's hot. You say, oh, don't touch it. I might be curious. I might want to touch it, just to see. Once you touch it, you see, oh, because it's hot and it's going to hurt me and I'm going to have blisters on my hand.
Right.
So creating a plan for yourself to tie those current goals to future goals and give them relevance on your path forward, I think that helps to motivate that person into making those grades because they're looking forward to the next step. And far as going to HBCU, back then, knowing what I know now about how easy it was to get a job coming out of HBCU because those companies were coming to Southern for Black engineers. Um, I think in choosing a school or HBCU, the first thing I want to look at is the end result. What are the placement rate of people in that major at that school? Do they have relationships with
Partnerships.
companies,
Yeah.
right? With your IBMs or whoever the top companies at those fields, because if they have those partnerships, it might help you to get an internship where you're able to prove yourself, and by the time you graduate, you might be able to get an offer from one of those schools through those partnerships.
That is wonderful advice. Exceptional advice. I thank you for sharing that. Well, thank you so much, Deesa. I appreciate you taking out the time to chat with me. You provided some very insightful information. And the goal, as you may or may not know, is to uplift our HBCUs, right, and show successful stories of, just thriving professionals. And it sounds like not only did you thrive in the corporate world, in the defense world, but now you're thriving in property management as well. So this is an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing. Are there any parting words you would like to say? Advice, whether it be finances, whether it just be life lessons, anything you want to share before we close?
You have to come with your A game because with globalization, it you were competing with not just people in the US, but compute people all over the world. Now with AI and all that, now you're competing with computers. So that's even more competition. So the world is getting more and more competitive. But if you're able to rise above and solve a problem, you will be well compensated because your solution has a much wider reach with globalization and computers, AI.
Boy, did you drop a bomb at the end. I hope that soaks in for a lot of people. Bringing a solution to a problem, providing a solution to a problem, it makes yourself a high commodity, right? And something
Yeah.
of value, exceptional. Thank you so much, Deesa. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. Good to
All
catch up
right.
with you too.
Yes, sir. All right. And this concludes today's podcast. Thank you so much.